what I've got here are clips of me warming up to a 1 rep max on the bench press. So while that's going on, I'm going to be walking you through some of the things that I like to consider when going for a max out. So these are things that I think of as power-ups, things that will stack on top of each other, things that I don't usually use in training, but I'll pull them all out of the bag on the day of a max out. So let's split these things up. So first off, we have equipment. So there's certain equipment that I only reserve for a max out day, but some equipment that I'll use on other days. And what's special about a max out day is that I use all of the equipment that I can possibly use. Next, we have the amount of hype. So that might be music, the sort of music, that could be smelling salts, that could be caffeine, so anything, even a spot shouting at you, all of that counts as hype, and that's something that you would use to get sort of pumped up to hit a certain way. So next is the sort of warm-ups I'd use. So the warm-ups that I'd use are a bit different, and I'll get into that. And there's something special that I do that really helps me to fire on my nervous system and make sure that whatever weight I do feels easy. And lastly, we just have getting a hand out from the spotter. This might not seem like a big thing, but I'll go into it. So, first off, the equipment that I use. Mainly what I have is elevated heel lifting shoes, wrist wraps, chalk, a belt, and an elastic band around the top of the bar, top of the bench. So what do all these things do? Let's start off with the lifting shoes. What they do is, literally, when I use leg drive, it feels more comfortable with my heel off the ground, but you also get more friction if more of your foot is in contact with the ground. With these heel elevated shoes, you get the best of both worlds. Your heels are elevated, so it feels more comfortable for your foot, and you also get all that surface area, so it's all in contact, not just your toes. With the wrist straps, literally, the main thing is that once you wrap them round, they provide support, so they make your wrist stiff, so it makes it hard for the wrist to flex. Compared to this arm doesn't flex as much. So when you're going for a heavy weight on a bench, it literally just gives you more support and you just feel more locked in. Same with the belt. The belt doesn't directly add anything at all. Same with the wrist straps, all this. All this equipment doesn't directly add any weight, like sleeves on a squat would do, but they all just help you feel more tighter, more locked in, so you can hit that weight easier. Next we have chalk. I use a liquid chalk. Well, it's just easy to carry around if it's liquid. Powdered chalk works just as well. Dry on your hands, because when you've got a wide grip on the bar, your hands can slip if they get sweaty. So what the chalk does is literally just absorbs the sweat and makes sure your hands are dry, you can grip the bar better, and you don't slip around as much. Because if you're slipping around, you're going to have to fight the, slipping forces as well as the weight as well. So it's going to be way harder. What the belt does is obviously, as I mentioned before, locks you in. I haven't got a belt to show you, so sorry about that. And the elastic band around the top of the bench, what it does is gives you some friction for your shoulders, so that when you arch, when you use your leg drive, you don't just slide up the bench. Instead, it bunches up your spine, it gives you a better arch basically. And when you use leg drive, the arch increases and your shoulder stays put. Next we have the sort of hype that I use on the day. The sort of music that I'll play, usually I'll just play relaxing music, not anything too loud or high BPM or anything like that, simply because I want to make sure that I'm used to training in a calm environment. So when I do whip out the Dragon Force or whatever, it does hit me as a shock, and that will help me to propel my lifts forward on that day. So usually, literally a whole month I will train with just, music that I enjoy, not, bad music that I like, but nothing that's too loud or over the top. And even if I am listening to some sort of metal, I wouldn't turn the volume very high. I just, you know, don't pay much attention to it. But on the day that I'm trying to max out, the volume's up, all the way up, you know, some high BPM stuff, some heavy metal. That's what really gets me going. Same with caffeine. I literally never use caffeine apart from when I'm maxing out. So literally 2 pills, 400 milligrams. It might not seem like a lot because you see people like scooping like 2-3 scoops of pre-workout or like 800 milligrams every single day, but I'm not used to caffeine, so for that reason 400 milligrams is enough to keep me up at night. Literally, if I take some caffeine, like 2 pills around like 6 PM or something, I'll be awake until 2 AM genuinely. That is how much I'm sensitive to caffeine, and I like to keep it that way. So literally I do save caffeine till that last moment. Same with ammonium salts. What I do is take a quick like sniff just before all of my heavy attempts. What ammonium salts do, literally irritates your nose, makes you breathe more, gets more oxygen in, makes you feel more awake, more alert, like you feel like you're ready for anything. So all of these things get you pumped up. I don't really get a spot to slap me on the back or anything, I just haven't done that yet. I don't know if it works, so yeah, but those 3 things I do use. Yeah, so loud music, caffeine pills, and ammonia. And let me tell you, they do make a difference. So save these sort of things for your heavy attempts. If you always use them, you'll get less sensitized to them, or what's the word? Desensitized. Yeah, that's it. You get desensitized to these things. So you want to make sure that you save them for a proper heavy attempt. I think the next thing I want to talk about is warm-ups, and you can see me going up right here. But the important thing with warm-ups, this is something that people like do differently to me, and I know I'm not like a pro lifter or anything, but a lot of people tend to do like a warm-up, tend to do warm-ups until like 90-95%, and they go really like heavy on their penultimate attempt. I don't really do that. What I do is, so here what I did was, the max I was working up to was 140. I had that number in mind, so my last warm-up was 120. It seems quite far off, and most people told me, oh, why don't you do the 130 first? I knew that I had the strength to do 140 because I'd done lots of AMRAPs before, and with them I'd calculated that my strength is around 140. So why didn't I just do the 130 anyway? Like, wouldn't that just help me to warm up? No. What I did instead was do the 120, and then load 140, add an extra 20 to each side on top of the 140, so now it's 180, get my spotter to hand it out to me, and I'd literally just hold that for like 3 seconds, and you can see that here. Literally just hold that weight. My arms can feel the 180, right? My wrists, my tendons, my bones, everything is just feeling that 180, and I've just got that in mind now. I remember that. Put the back of the rack, slap the 20s off, and now what happens is, it's just 140 on the bar now. Just 140. What was once like, wow, this is my max weight, I'm working up to it, 140, 120, 130, 140. Now it's just like 180, 140. It's calmed me down for me in my head. And your nervous system gets like pumped up as well. Once you've held that weight in your hands, 140 genuinely felt like I felt like this is just a training weight that I've hit every single day. Yet I've never pushed this weight before. Like the most I've done with this weight is like a couple of negatives. I've never pressed this weight before, but yet it felt so light in my hands. So that's something that you should do. And of course, like lastly, just the spotter. What does the spotter do? Literally, handing out that weight lets you stay tight in the bottom. Like, when you have that arch all set and everything, but then if you want to unrack the bar yourself, you sort of have to shuffle back and, you know, rearrange your position to make sure that you have the best leverage to push it out. And then your pressing leverages aren't as good. But with the spotter there, you can stay tight in that bottom position and let the spotter hand it out to you. And now what you can do is press from your tightest, most powerful position. So basically, what I've done here is layer on top all these little power-ups like wraps, a belt, a band around the bar, a band around the bench, lifting shoes. All these things have just stacked on top of each other. Lifting salts, caffeine, loud music, all of these things are coming together to make me the strongest I can be on that day. And that's what you should do too. Like, it feels good, because usually in training what I do is, like with bench, I try to do Larsen presses, pause Larsen presses, no wraps, no belt, no lifting shoes, like no band around the bar. Sometimes I don't even use chalk. I rarely use loud music, like turn the music down always. I never use caffeine until like the main days. I never use ammonia, almost never use a spotter. So all these things that I've just not done in training, now on this day I've allowed myself to do. And once I've done that, everything just feels easier, right? And that's what you want to do. You want to get that mindset, get out of the mindset that it's a challenge. It's not. You've got this. You can bench heavy, right? You want to max out? Go do it. Have fun.